Hey guys, remember the 1990s when Ford Escorts and Vauxhall Cavaliers ruled the roads? It was the heyday of the sports coupe. We had things like the Vauxhall Calibra and the VW Corrado, and Ford also pitched in with the Ford Probe, if you remember the 2.5 Mazda MX-6 variant. But it was the Japanese that really ruled the roads. They were on a roll in the mid 90s. The cars with like the Honda NSX, the Nissan 300ZX Turbo, the Honda CRX, and the Toyota MR2 2-litre GT. It was a breath of fresh air. It was such a pretty car in its day, an amazing car. The looks were like Ferrari based, amazing. It was like your girlfriend that could put a supermodel to shame but worked in Sainsbury's for a living, or even better to go with the times, worked in Quicksave for a living. It was an enormously gorgeous car. I mean, I was just a schoolboy in the 90s, and I would walk past my local Toyota showroom and you'd see a line of these MR2s parked up at front. They were pushed in about £20,000 for a brand new one at the time. 0 to 60 time was about 7 seconds, which still is quite reasonable, quite decent. At the time it was very quick. It stormed all the way up to 140 miles an hour. The 2-litre bulletproof Yamaha 2-litre GT twin cam 16-valve engine pushed out about 170 brake horsepower, and in the day it was a lot of power. I mean, the car didn't weigh much and it was just a sports 2-seater, and 170 brake horsepower, mid-mounted engine, front-wheel drive, 5-speed manual gearbox, and it just pushed through the gears. You could feel it was invincible in its day. And even today, I mean, I put it through a few red light, traffic light shootouts. I think one of them was a brand new Jaguar, and it left it for dead. The other was an Audi S3, and again I managed to pull away in this 1995 2-litre GT Sports MR2. It was just such a beautiful car to look at in its day. I mean, maybe I should put on a Patreon's page and save my MR2 Oscar donations, because this one's actually seen better days. It's a restoration project. So many times I came close to scrapping it, but I just couldn't let it go. My heart wouldn't let me get rid of it that way. I mean, it does need a full respray, brakes, pads, bearings, a couple of other things as well, but the engine is still bulletproof with only 115,000 on the clock. So the future, we thought, from Japan was the Honda NSX. The Nissan Skylines and the GTRs were still on its way, but instead we were hoping for a mini version of maybe the Toyota Supra or something similar, but instead we got this, which, to be honest, I had been looking forward to for a long time, but unfortunately it didn't turn out to be half as good as the old car. I mean, the looks for a start was sort of Porsche 911 based. Now, if you remember, the 911 Boxster saved Porsche's fortunes from bankruptcy during this sort of early 2000s, sort of late 90s. Porsche Boxster came out, and it was a scaled down mini version of the 911, which is a legendary car from Porsche. This was never going to be a 911. This was never going to be a Boxster. Instead, it's a very cheap sort of copy, I thought. And in copying doing so, they lost the character of the old MR2, which in its own right was just such a beautiful thing. It sat lower, it looked longer, sleeker. There was a proper boot for your stuff in there. I mean, in the newer car you can barely get a tennis racket in there, and that's about it really. Yes, granted, it had a full convertible roof. I mean, they tried to pitch it in between the Mazda MX-5 and the Porsche Boxster, and it did neither. The MX-5 was more fun to drive, and the Boxster was always going to be a Porsche, and if this car would never be able to beat a Porsche. And then you had the Germans come in with the SLKs and the sort of more potent Z4s and the Z3s at the time, and they just sort of, Toyota lost its game, lost the charm of the Mark 1 and the Mark 2 MR2s, and this car killed off the MR2. But the future, I hope, is not bleak. As you might have heard, there is a new Supra coming out at the Detroit Motor Show in America in January. So hopefully we might be lucky enough to see the revival of the MR2 back to its former glory, maybe a mini version of the new Supra or the Lexus LC500. I mean, the old car just sort of oozed character, not just on the outside but on the inside as well. It had a classic wraparound dashboard, it had soft sumptuous leather seats inside, the dashboard was just textbook sports coupe, dials were perfectly located. I mean, it's just the most beautiful car in its day, inside outside. It made you feel someone important, made you feel that you've worked hard for your money and that you've earned it, and it was just a joy in its day. Unfortunately the new one didn't live up to the promise, but thank you so much for watching, guys. Please stay tuned, please subscribe, like, comment, and I will give you a test run. The MR2 is going to be restored. I've made up my mind. I'm going to save every penny, put her back onto the road. She is my pride and joy. The new MR2 is going to be put up for sale, and we'll give you a full test drive before we put it on the market for sale. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the video. Please keep watching. Bye.